Our newest committee member is Alma, and I'm just going to ask you to say something about.
Yeah, myself, okay. Thank you, hi, welcome, or I should say welcome to myself, to my first meeting. So, many of you know I'm a sitting councillor for the City of New London. For a living, I am a corporate regional manager for environmental health and safety. So, I'm an expert in strategic planning and also regulatory compliance. That's what I do during the day. So, my office is up in Warwick. It's been quite a night to make all these meetings, but I'm here and I'm happy to join and contribute. So.
Welcome to the committee, Alma. Did anybody have public comment? I have the sheet, but I don't see any signups. So I'll read my normal reminder that we read at meetings. In order to keep the committees focused on the challenge at hand, questions from those in attendance will only be taken after the committee has completed their work. The committee is allotted a total of 10 minutes of time for those questions. And as always, I will stay until they close the building and answer any questions or concerns from anybody out here. So the first item on our agenda are the minutes. If anybody has any feedback.
Motion to move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? All right, 6. I put on here possible January 28th or February 11th meeting. I don't know how everybody feels about doing another meeting in 2 weeks, or if we should wait until February. I'm tempted to say we should wait till after we have our discussion to see what we may have to go find to bring back to the committee versus trying to jam something in 2 weeks. So I would actually just like to kind of table that until later on. I know Marty has to go depart slightly early, so if we don't get to that before you leave,
I'm sure you'll let me know.
in that case, I will let you
A
know.
motion for February 11th, and if we have to get back to 28th after our discussion today, so at least
That would work.
that way we have our quorum here so we can vote on it.
So John, you want to do for
Motion for February 11th, next
Second.
meeting.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Great. So we have at least February 11th down, and then we can decide.
Yeah, we have to come back to that.
And I will get back to Marty on that. So we're on to the important part of the agenda, which is our discussion. But before we do that, I wanted to point out a few things that have happened that I think will lead into our discussion about what we will be doing kind of moving forward. And to realize the committee goals, and I'll say it a million times, we need to increase recycling, reduce solid waste, and gain everybody's support or understanding. Some of the things that are happening or have happened, there's going to be a program at the high school, which is funded by SCURA. It's basically a $10,000 grant, and Seaside Sustainability is working with the high school. Miguel Gauthier, who's the facilities manager for the school system, and Charles Mulligan, who's a science teacher, are going to do a trash audit at the high school. So they'll take all the garbage and they'll place it on tables and see where we're kind of failing or succeeding at the high school. Just so everybody here knows, SCURA is funding that. They purchased the hazmat suits. If you want to volunteer, I'm sure you could get one and go through the garbage. And then there's also scales that they purchased to do that program. When they're done, they'll move it out and do presentations at the middle school and the elementary schools. And if it goes well, it's actually written into the SCURA budget that there's another grant available next year. I don't know if that would come to us or some other school district. Did you have a question on that?
Yeah, what's the duration of the study?
It's unknown. They're actually meeting next week,
Okay.
or this week at some point, to decide exactly how it's going to go. My guess is they're going to do a study of 1 day or 1 week of the school and try to see where we're doing well and where we're not doing well. I'm not sure exactly. I'll have more information after next week when they meet again. They're actually supposed to meet last week, so I would have had a great answer for your question, but I just don't have one. So a couple of things we've talked about here. The New London Solid Waste and Recycling website has been updated. The update included correct address for the transfer station, what the transfer station takes has a PDF file at the website. It actually matches what they hand out at the transfer station as well, which to me is a really good thing. There was a Christmas tree flyer added to the website, which for anybody here who doesn't know, put your Christmas tree out next to your garbage, on your garbage day, from now until the end of this week, we'll pick it up, or the city will pick it up, they'll put it in their chipper, they'll bring the chips back to the transfer station, you can go and pick them up and put them around your yard anywhere you want. I'll get to you, Cheryl, I promise. There's also a recycling flyer that was added, both on the solid waste page, and the flyer was also added on the home page. And something I kind of find neat, if I can find it, as of today, our trucks have the recycling flyer on the side of it as well. I've heard some criticism that it needs to be bigger. I don't think we can get everything, but it is on there. I believe 4 of the 5 trucks we have have it on the truck, so people can observe it. The other one, which we've heard here far too often, is not working, so it doesn't have that on there. I don't know what the plan is to get it out to more places, but people will see it in more places than just the website or Facebook or other places.
That's the worst criticism about the size of the sign. You're okay.
We're working on it. So that same recycling flyer has been given to Park and Rec, and it'll go out to their subscribers via email. That's about 7,000 subscribers. Karen Paul has agreed to send out some information via the Senior Center mailing list. The Neighborhood Alliance, which John is part of, has agreed to send out flyers or other information through their mailing list. And then that flyer and all their information will go out through the Board of Education to administrators, teachers, parents, and students via email. And then in the spring, most likely, something will go out via hard copy as well to myself as a parent. It will just be stuffed in an envelope because we get a lot of mailings, and it will not cost the city any additional funds to make something like that happen.
Brian, I remember we had this conversation about the water bills also, putting a flyer in the water.
I haven't followed up with that yet, but it is an option we can do. We can have, maybe not a flyer, but we can have words added to the water bill where it would say, please recycle or something like that.
So what you can and can't. Yeah.
Right, it's just a matter of space. I mean, we just added another line to the water bill, so we've lost a little space, but that's not for this
Right now, they're in
committee.
the process of they're limited to what verbiage we can put on the bills. And
Sure.
Right now, they're limited to getting word out about the new stormwater.
Right, yeah, I'm not gonna complicate the stormwater stuff. I'm sure they don't wanna get recycling questions. That's as well.
Yeah, future mailings we could do.
Sure, I'd love to have it on all of our tax bills as well. I mean, it's not gonna cost anything to put a little, please do not put plastic bags in your recycling containers, something like that. A couple other little things here. Public Works agreed to fund a full-page ad in the Spring Connect magazine, which is the Park and Rec magazine. That's the department brochure for recreational programs, youth services, and more, and that goes out to approximately 11,000 households, both in New London and kind of the surrounding areas. That should be a pretty far reach. SCUR will be providing both stickers and magnets to promote proper recycling. This will most likely be happening in the spring, so those will go out to the residents somehow. We haven't figured that part out yet. The Board of Ed has kindly agreed to add the word United in Excellence and We Recycle to all of their future agendas, and also the little whale recycling logo. United in Excellence is their slogan for the school district, and after talking with Cynthia Ritchie, I talked her out of using the words please recycle, because I would rather have a more moving forward thing that we recycle. We do it. We're not asking you to recycle, we do recycle, and that's what the schools have to do. So everybody knows every classroom has to have a bin for recycling in the classroom. Do they use it properly? I don't know, but they have to have one, and I believe that's the case currently. So far, the Christmas tree pickup seems to be a success. I know some people have some different comments about them not getting picked up, but they're trying. We'll continue to work on that. I have a number for John. Do you want to talk about Neighborhood Alliance, last week's meeting, for just a minute?
Yeah, there's really not much. It's basically, we went over what we've been going over is the recycling.
So there's a couple little tidbits I want to talk about before we get into our conversation here. One is privatization, and it's just a short little blurb here. When we had CWPM and Gordon Vidalin, we talked about us owning the carts if we were to enter into a privatization contract. I looked into a couple other towns in our area, and it is the case that they don't own the carts. So if we were to go that way at some point or recommend that, we would want to own the carts because that's part of our infrastructure. And it's a small issue, but it's also a big one. One of our neighbors up north has private hauler for the whole town. They want to add stickers to the carts. The private hauler said no. So they can't add any education to their carts. So it's just something to keep in mind as we have more of a conversation
Our
today.
one presenter said that would not be an issue.
That's correct. I'm just bringing it up because
Okay.
it is an issue in another place, and it's something that we should not make a mistake or trap falling into, if you want to use that word. Last week, I talked to the Connecticut DEEP, and I'm going to ask everybody's opinion here. They asked if our committee needs any assistance or we would like any help. So they said they would bring someone in to talk to us and give the state perspective, or they could do something via Skype. And I'm wondering how everyone here feels about having the DEEP come in to talk to us. Martin?
Since we are dealing with state regulations, I think it would be most appropriate to have a state representative here.
Do you mean our state representative, or do you mean
No, DEEP representative to outline
their thoughts on everything?
their thoughts as well as the rules and regs and goals and objectives moving forward that they have.
Sure.
That we're supposed to be meeting.
Sure.
So I'd rather do that personally than via Skype.
I'll be the one that they would probably oppose to it, because I just see it, them giving the chance to come back with the yellow bags and the smart
Place for
program.
Skype, this isn't it.
Yeah, I mean, you could have some stipulations, right? I mean, if you have concerns about them taking over the meeting, you can have stipulations and an agreement before they come in.
Sure.
This is what we want to focus on and give them a time limit. I think that's totally appropriate.
Just so everybody's aware, every person who's come in, I try to meet with beforehand
Yeah.
and tell them exactly what the expectations all are. And in an attempt to protect, in a sense, like our workers in the city, I ask them what topics they don't want to talk about. Because it is an open committee, and I'm afraid, I want them to be as honest as possible, but I think sometimes they can't be, because they are an employee type of thing. There'll be time afterwards.
Okay, because I have an idea.
Jackie or...
They approached you?
Yeah, actually, they approached me with an email, and then I talked to them last week. We did talk about the bag program. They had been, the pay-as-you-throw program, they had been working on it for 3 to 4 years. I went through and detailed why I don't think it was accepted by the public in New London. They didn't like hearing those words. That's reality. That's the way it is. They wanted to push their program, what's in, what's out. I told them I don't think in New London we will be pushing the program, what's in, what's out. Because as a community, if nothing else, I don't think New London wants to be told what to do by the state of Connecticut over and over and over again. We can take their program, what's in, what's out, and do the exact same program and not call it what's in, what's out. They understood that aspect of it. There's a lot of great things in that program. It's just like the flyer, what you can put in your recycling and what you can't. I don't feel if we embrace another state program that's going to feel like New London, and it's going to set us back versus moving us forward.
I agree. So I would personally support bringing them in to have a brief discussion and give them opportunities to ask questions.
Does anybody want to make a motion, and I will set it up?
So moved, second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
All right,
I mean,
next.
we're basically here, since you went ahead and voted without discussion, we're basically here
sorry.
because of the state basically imposing a program on us by DEEP.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons this committee was formed,
But I do agree with,
and we'll be on record for that.
I do agree with Councilor Olson that it would be good to get their perspective on, first of all, what we're doing and what their perspective is as well. They were very receptive to any of the things we've been doing. In fact, my favorite quote was, "How did you get the guests you have had at your table?" And the answer was, "I asked." It's not that hard.
How did we get as far as we have in the 3 months of the bus?
Sure. So I'm going to keep going. I guess it got longer than I thought. We've talked in this committee about diverting food scraps to the pig farm, Ciccarelli Pig Farm in Waterford. And I have an email from Corianne Manzo, who works at the Center of Eco-Technology. It's an environmental nonprofit that helps businesses and people save energy and reduce waste. Basically, they facilitate setting up the program within the city at no cost to us. I haven't had a chance to actually talk to them. She's worked with Jonathan at Ciccarelli Pig Farm for a period of time. He recommended we talk to her. I'm going to be talking to her tomorrow to see if there's an opportunity to maybe roll out the program further within the city of New London. It's just an update. I don't have too much information past that. Okay, now for the bad and good news. As Alma said, we have new numbers from Brian's here, which are, there's some information back there, your Cheryl, if anybody
No,
wants.
oh, I have them.
Yeah, there's no.
I'm using them as a pad.
Okay, there's a blank side and then there's a big, huge sheet with 1 million numbers. And then there's 3 other sheets with a bunch of little numbers. So the first one is our
I think that's what you
solid waste numbers. I don't have, on the first sheet, what you see here is a synopsis of the second 2 sheets. You can kind of ignore them. I just tried to make it easy for everybody. So in New London, we haven't done a great job in the last 4 months of the year reducing solid waste. We've actually gone down 3% in September. We went up 11%, we went up 3%, and then up 8%. But if you follow along, you can see what New London in total, that was just the residents. We also have a number with private hauling and New London combined. And you can see we go in and out.
Okay.
I'll get to you across just, and then the last number is what the entire Skura district is doing. So they're doing better than us. It is what it is. I hope we can get more numbers further, but I think we can obviously reduce our waste more. It is gradually going up. In the last 4 months of the year, we've basically increased at a rate of about 5%. Maureen, you had a question?
Okay, so this is plus private haulers
Yes.
right here?
Yep.
Okay. And these numbers, this
So-
section, what is that?
So the first 2 columns are going to be our first 4 columns are going to be our recycling numbers. And then and I apologize, I didn't get everything labeled the way I wanted to.
This
but
is recycling?
Yes, I literally got this a couple hours ago, and I wanted to make sure we had some numbers to look at.
Okay.
And then the larger sheet just shows you all the numbers I have on one piece of paper, and you can track our solid waste and how much it costs per ton that we're disposing of.
How are we so great on recycling in September?
I'm going to address that one.
Bless you.
So those are MSW numbers. They're not great.
Right.
It is what it is. That's where we are now. So I will go to the positive now. The first 4 columns are our recycling numbers year over year. As Maureen rightly pointed out, our September number is kind of out of whack, and it says we increased our recycling by 34%. When CWPM, I believe, took over a company in Groton, they were bringing their recycling to us as well for a period of time. That would have fallen in September. That has, I believe, since stopped. So I don't.
Which makes sense with the second number because the trash volume for residential
Right.
dropped.
So
Okay.
I don't have an exact reading on September, but I can tell you the months moving forward, we're over 200 tons in recycling. And the percentage, if you want to ignore September, October, November, and December, we've increased 9%, 14%, and 16% over the year before, which to me is quite good. And then if you look at the bottom, you can see single stream from back in September of 17 at 174, kind of approaching, and then going over 200 tons per month. In July, we barely missed 200, but the trend is we will be above 200 and maybe eking out a little higher. Of course, there's the anomaly of the 263. I can't help you on that one.
It'd be nice to see that total percentage number, the recycling as a part of total.
Yeah, and I just haven't gotten to it. I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure what I gave you was accurate, and I could have,
Yeah.
what I get is a sheet with just a whole bunch of numbers of raw data, and I put it in here,
Yeah.
and I go from there. So the good news is our recycling percentage year over year is way up. It's a good thing. The solid waste, I talked to David Aldridge from Skura today, and he said there's other things you have to factor in, like the economy, weather. There's things that sometimes weight just goes up and we don't know why. You need a longer span, but these are the numbers I have for today. So if anybody has any questions, I can attempt to address them.
Do we know why? Do we know why there's more single stream recycling in tons? or changed?
I want to say the committee was formed, but I don't know if
Okay,
that's true.
fair.
You know, I am not 100% sure. I would like to, and I've asked Willimantic Waste for their residue or contamination numbers as well. And I've also asked for, and I don't know if they have them, like our division of the numbers within, like how much glass, how much paper. I don't know if we could even get those numbers. I don't have a fantastic answer for you. I mean, we've done some things here and within the city for education. I also think Pay As You Throw woke up some people, and they're doing more things.
I would say that.
But-
One variable.
But the thing is, if you go back, we didn't really get a bump until you go to May, and maybe that's when the proverbial poop hit the fan.
That's when it did.
And so we're still staying above 200, which is good. We haven't backtracked. You know, usually you have an incident that happens, everybody gets riled up, and then everybody calms down and we go back to normal, but we seem to be above. So that doesn't really answer your question, but I can just throw a bunch of theories out.
I think that the level of, since this committee's been formed, and which was in response to Pay As You Throw, that there certainly has been a higher level of energy and information and education. And it's been moving progressively, and a lot of it hinges directly to your efforts, I might add. I mean, you've been terrific. And the community as a whole ought to applaud that and not lose sight of, we've got a one-man army working for us here. And thank you.
The solid waste numbers going up too is the fact that the alternative to not having yard waste picked up, people are throwing it in their green bins.
It could be. To address one of the things Martin said, it's not me, it's the whole committee. I mean, John's done some TV shows, he goes to Neighborhood Alliance. I mean, I've done a few different, you had me on your show, so we'll call it a joint effort on that one.
And Wednesday, David Aldridge will be my guest.
Right, David Aldridge. So if you get a line at broadband, make sure you turn into Marty's show.
In all
And
fairness to the
also-
community too, we're getting the word out through the senior center and other members that are attending this from the public.
In terms of education, that when I guest hosted for Lee Elsie, I had you and Aldridge on for an hour or so.
And I just want to say a quick note about that. In the past, I think New London has totally failed in education, but we're not alone of recycling or garbage. So when I was on his show, we talked about plastic bags and not to put plastic bags in your recycling. There's going to be two parts to the story. And at the break, someone texted you. Do you want to continue, or I can?
No, go ahead.
Okay, and said, I had no idea you weren't supposed to put plastic bags in your recycling. This person is a professional in our community. This morning, I was at a local coffee shop, and I talked to a judge who said he puts, well, actually, he takes his cardboard and he rips it into little pieces, and then he puts it in a plastic bag, and then he puts it in his recycling bin. And the other person who was there said, now it's your time to tell the judge he's wrong. And so I spent the time explaining to it, and he had no idea. So the education, no matter where you are, people don't know what to do. And I use the example of our elected officials, and I kind of threw Marty under the bus on his show. At the time, it was 6 out of 6 people I had shown this to who were elected said, I didn't know that. It's 7 out of 7 now. I don't think I've shown it to Alma.
I know that because my wife is an environmentalist,
Right.
so we recycle
So you're not getting
everything.
it.
Yeah.
But it goes across everything that we have not done a good job in telling people what they can and can't do. Go ahead, Marty.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
The enforcement part too, the guys with boots on the street are getting no backup from admin when they try to enforce something.
Sure, and I do hope
That we found out.
just having
Result
this
of
on the truck, if it spurs someone in our community to have a conversation with one of our guys, and they're all guys on solid waste, I checked, just so I'm politically correct, or you see it and you point to it, or your neighbor, or you see this on the website, it's just a repetition is a key to learning, and I hope gradually New London gets better. I mean, our recycling numbers, maybe they say that. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see in 3 or 4 months from now, another quarter, if they continue where they are or they go up. I don't know. Obviously, and John pointed out too, you want solid waste to go down. But if recycling is going up, it's a plus. I mean, we're growing at 5% for solid waste versus about 14% if you take out the September. So we're outpacing solid waste, and that's one of the, actually one of the things that David Aldridge from SCURA said. Look at where you are and it's a positive. Anyways, that's the end of my list. And now we're going to go into, go
If
ahead,
I
Mark.
may quickly, regarding that signage, I'd like to get Pat Bowles' thoughts on that. I mean, she worked down there. I mean, have you seen this picture on regarding the truck?
I just saw the photograph, I haven't noticed it on a truck.
Yeah, well, it's just brand new. I mean,
Yeah.
you think that's a good,
It's a start,
you think that's a good idea?
it's a start,
Yeah, everything's a start right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to go on to, sorry, I took up too much time, but I want to go on to why we're actually here. And I'm just going to read a little blurb here, and then we'll get into a discussion. And I read this last time, and I kind of modified it slightly. As a reminder, this committee has met 6 times together. We began with former committee member Julie Camerata speaking to us about the ever-changing and challenging landscape of recycling and tipping fees. This was followed by bringing in David Aldra from Skura, where we covered anything from tipping fees to composting in our backyards. In the next meeting, we brought in the Public Works Director Brian Sear and Risk Manager Paul Gillis. We learned about the daily challenges Public Works faces in the field as well as behind the scenes, and additionally, the inherent risks and cost involved with solid waste. The meeting was followed by a meeting with solid waste and recycling crew leader Quincy Jones, Public Works maintainer Richard Woodward, and recycling maintainer Abel Guzman, where we received a hands-on account of the day-to-day challenges of collecting and disposing of solid waste and recycling. In November, we met with Jason Manafort from CWBPM and their lawyer Gordon Vidal, where we were presented with possible privatization options for New London. And tonight, in December, we were visited by Cyril C.J. May, who has built a highly successful refuse and recycling program at both Yale and in Waterbury. So as a reminder, our goals are increase recycling, reduce solid waste volume, and garner community support. I would like to use this meeting to develop a list of ideas that this committee feels might be advanced to council to achieve these goals. I can start with some of my ideas, or I'm more than willing to open this up to any committee member who is willing to jump in, and then we can discuss them.
Well, I'd like to again reiterate, I mean, this committee was formed on the pushback of pay as you throw. And I don't necessarily think that that's going to change. So I think we have to look outside for other things if we're going to meet the criteria of getting community support. I think that it's important that we we've garnered a lot of information, but we really haven't tackled it, so to speak. I think that there's an uneven level of committee member understanding and to galvanize this and put it together for a recommendation to council. And interestingly as well, that as this committee was formed, because one of our goals is to increase recycling, is that global markets have changed. And that with that, what used to be a small revenue generator is going to turn into a cost, almost as much as solid waste. So I think we need to be aware of that. It's also part of the educational thing. That gets why recycle? Well, it's because it's the right thing to do environmentally, even if it's at an expense. And what's the best way to accomplish our goals and objectives here? I'm a little bit disappointed that the solid waste volume is still going up with this report. But so be. And how are we going to integrate, assuming that this committee wants to, the food waste that you've been dealing with at the high school and schools? And do we want to try to capture the restaurants? Is that worthwhile? Or is it going to become an annoyance to them and they aren't going to want to participate? Or should it be voluntary? I don't know. I think these are part of the discussions that we have to have moving forward. I mean, I don't feel comfortable that we're ready to make any kind of decisions at this point.
Sure, my goal is to come up with a list, kind of like what you're saying, that we can discuss versus continuing the education aspect of what we've been doing.
mean, that's why I think it's important to get the state in here with DEEP, because if they've got particular regulations that are set up, they may be contrary to where we may want to go. And how do we deal with that? We're going to kind of give them the flip off? Are we going to adhere to the regs? And how do we have to give this some serious consideration of how we're going to approach this stuff. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at this moment. I mean, I think that we've garnered a significant amount of data. We've had terrific presenters, and I think we've all learned a lot. But when the next step is when we galvanize our work and bring it to the council for consideration, they're not going to have all the background that we've got. So we've got to sell it again.
Sure.
And present again. And then the community. So we still have our work cut out for us.
I tend to agree with you.
You know, I mean, and the thing is, I mean, and I hope we don't succumb to pressure, because we'll be getting pressured regarding, well, it's budget time. What are you guys doing? So what are we going to do? And I think that we need to be firm that we want to do it right and do it once, and not be screwing around and playing patty cake and messing around.
Did you want to talk about your, Jackie?
I think if we can get if we need to get too deep, let's get that going as well, get that information as well, how they go. And then we can add that to what we're trying to do. Personally, right now, I think we've gotten a lot of information, and we can at least start to get some ideas, get something together. And then once we get deep in, get their input, then we can go with what we have and what we've already collected and what their thinking is. And, if we can get more ideas from them, then we can add that to it.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I thought that, that we would be coming to conclusions and that we wouldn't have taken any actions yet at the end of this, but you've already, you have already done so much to get the education out there, and it's already in process, and that it's an ongoing process. So all of the things that are happening with SCARA in the schools and what's going out to the press, how do we sustain that?
Sure, Omar?
Yeah, well, I've read the material that you provided, so I have the minutes, the backup minutes, and what I want to say is, one, thank you for coming to the table, and two, as Marty, suggested, recommendations, right? You could have one or you can have 10. It really doesn't matter as long as we're talking about it, and we'll pick them off. If we get down to 2 or 3 and you feel that those are the best to move forward, that's really what we're looking for. So I'll let you, I think I want to hear from DEP.
Sure.
And I'm curious to see what your ideas are as far as implementation and sustaining, not 2 years, not 5 years, but,
Right.
20 years down the road. What kind of recycling program? And do we want to be leaders? Does New London want to be leaders? It's okay to take risks. It's that, if we're talking about, food waste, that's a big deal. And why not incorporate that into the bigger picture? So.
Trey, do we either get Brian Sear back there then?
Well, that's,
The reason I'm asking that is,
people.
the reason I'm saying is, as our Public Works Director, he should know whether we're in compliant with the state or not.
I tend to think we'll
We're
have to
paying
have,
him enough for it,
I think we'll have to have Brian back in to answer a lot of questions at some point, now that we have a lot more information. Because when he came in, it was the second meeting, I think.
yeah.
But we didn't have as much information as we know now.
Well, at that point, we're getting him to present
Right.
his aspect to us.
Pardon, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize too that we've been doing things a certain way for a period of time. We're accustomed to that. We're comfortable.
Yeah, there you go.
And as a community, and that whatever, assuming we are going to propose change, whatever that change may be, we're going to need a big cultural shift in our community, because if the community doesn't buy in, it gets back to the community support, and not only the community, but the city administration. If you know you can call down to the mayor's office, and he's going to sidestep what we're trying to do, why are we doing it? And that goes on now.
Yeah.
They didn't pick up my garbage, so they send a truck back. That's expensive.
Well, along with the education aspect, I think we need to give the public the means to recycle.
Sure.
And if that means proposing the expense.
I'm already finished, I'll get back.
But I mean, if it's a matter of the recycling lid being down, proper stuff in your garbage or your recycling. I mean, when the gentlemen from the city were here, I mean, pick it up and take it. Knowing that if they don't pick it up, they're gonna be coming back to get it. Even though it's not correct. And that's the type of culture change that we're gonna need if we're gonna meet our stated goals and objectives. And that's gonna require a lot of, leadership, some firmness. It's just not gonna be, it'll happen by osmosis. So I think we have to be aware of that in terms of what type of recommendations we're doing, and have a level of clarity in terms of what we're trying to accomplish.
So, John, I know you want to talk.
It's covered it, but I mean, we gotta give the people the means.
Sure.
To educate them, and to delay any more on looking into getting the blue recycle buckets like Waterford or other towns have, or even the gentleman's, I think it was Waterbury that presented to us last time we met. It's an end to the, I mean, you can educate all you want, but if you're not gonna give them the means to do it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, in the sense that education is a key component to this, but people really change behavior in two ways. It's either incentivized, right, there's an incentive, or they're penalized. That's true, that's a fact, so if I'd like to have the discussion. I mean, how, did we do pricing on the blue recycling containers? And
So if we were to outfit the city with about 10,500 of them, it would be about $580,000.
580.
Yes. So one of my, sorry.
That's a lot.
One of my thoughts obviously is we don't have the means to recycle in our city. We have bins or we have nothing. Some people have purchased their own carts, and there's a few odds and ends around the city.
So let me just ask that question then. You say you have a family of whatever, 4, and you have this tiny little, we have those tiny little containers, and they want a place, they're willing to pay for a container. So what did Director Sears say about that? Do they have a back stock of where you can purchase? Nothing, okay.
We just don't have it currently. We just don't. You'll see a lot of people have their own recycling containers. They might paint recycling on it, or they'll pick up one at Home Depot.
Do we have a backlog of the green containers?
I'm not sure if we have a backlog, but I don't believe so. You may find a lot of extra ones at people's houses that they are not using. But that's not really a backlog.
So we don't have an excess inventory?
We don't have an excess inventory. We have an excess inventory of garbage.
Yeah.
We're very good at creating that. But one of my thoughts is just simply we have to find a way, or we have to get people the means to recycle. How we come about getting people, that is another concept. But if we don't have something to put our recycling in, people aren't going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can drive around town and you'll see, David Aldridge calls it wishful recyclers, and I'll use the same term. You'll see cardboard next to a garbage can.
Mm-hmm.
and you'll see maybe newspapers wrapped up, but we don't have things to put them in. And part of that issue is, like Marty said, the lids. Our recycling gets wet, and it weighs more. That's just a reality. In the past, when we were getting paid for recycling, maybe that was a good thing. If we're going to be paying for recycling, we want it as dry as possible. So I feel strongly from our committee, at some point, we're going to have to recommend we somehow find a way to get carts. I think that's a basic concept that's going to most likely come from here, would be my guess. Obviously, everybody should weigh in on that.
The name of the program escapes me right now, but the choice that Waterbury made.
So they use closed loop funds.
So we had talked about possibly speaking to them further
Sure.
or having them.
So Closed Loop Fund is a nonprofit that helps fund cities across the nation that are looking to recycle more essential. They're funded by Starbucks, Walmart, Target. They get lots of money from different places. I actually talked to them in October. The big issue there is you have to have something that you're going to be doing that they can buy into. Right now, we don't have anything. So when I talked to him, he just said, well, call back when you have something in place. So if we have a plan, like we have some education going out, that's something we can grab onto. He can see it, that a truck has this on it, or we would like to do recycling carts for the whole city. We have to have something before going back to them and then go through the process, whether it be through Brian Sear or the mayor, or however that may work.
I see around town, around the city, that the ones that really do not recycle are the multifamily. Where they don't have they have the green bins, but they don't have the blue ones. I think we need to tap into those, letting them know that, get to the landlords, you need to have these bins for recycling. I know that, we need to also educate not just the the tenants, but also the landlords, so that they can pass that on to new tenants as well. For example, Willits, we have so many, like one, for example, I believe there's a 6-family house, and they have all green bins. There's no recyclable there.
Sure.
None. So myself, my sister, we live on Riverview Ave, and we're trying to educate the people next to us, around us in our street, because we've had, we've befriended one of the people there that she got new furniture, and she put the mattresses and the sofas out there. And my sister went to her and said, what's going on? This is the reason why we have the issues we have. And she wasn't aware of it. She had no idea that she wasn't supposed to do that. So by my sister doing that, communicating with her, she was able to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take care of it. She did take care of it within a couple of days. She says, I am so glad that you told me. So we're trying to educate the people in our neighborhood. And again, it's all about educating, especially the landlords, the multifamilies. And that's a big issue in our area.
And I think Alma and Marty kind of said it too. If we continue to pick up the mattresses and the TVs and everything else, we're going to continue to do it. So an ordinance or a change in our ordinances with teeth, with fines, I think you had said. We can do the OOP stickers like CJ and you brought into the Neighborhood Alliance as a reminder. But we can't, as a city, continue to model bad behavior. Why would we continue to pick up TVs when we're just going to pay $58 a ton? I use the simple phrase, we can make the choice to pay $58 a ton, or you can make the choice to bring it to the transfer station. And
Or we have a bulky, sorry to interrupt you.
No,
We have
it's okay.
the city, for $20, you can
Sure.
call and make an appointment and have it picked up.
Sure, and so talking to Quincy, we used that 10 times last year.
Wow, yeah, that's alarming.
It is, yes.
And that's because, again, they don't get the backup from the city. Because if they leave it, they'll call up and say they didn't pick it up, and they have to go back out and take it and pick it up.
We need to go back to it, because even once a year we'll be offered bulk pickup.
Yeah, I strongly think that our committee may put forward that bulk pickup has to come
I mean,
back.
we heard from the privatization, when they were here, Manafort, that they, in their program, would offer a spring and fall pickup
Sure.
at no cost, and then any additional they would charge for.
And Waterbury does it where they pick up on Monday, Tuesday, we do bulk
And
pickup
he
on
explained the whole
Wednesday, and then
rotation
Thursday and
program
Friday.
they have.
We don't have that, obviously, now. We tend to put it out on the street and eventually disappears.
Magic.
Yeah, and Bud said actually something interesting. One of the problems I think we have with education is we actually pick up recycling and we pick up garbage in our city really well. You said you work in Warwick. You put your garbage out, you put your recycling out, and you go to Warwick and you come back and it's gone. We do a really good job of picking it up, generally speaking. Of course, there are times when things get mixed. But convincing everybody that there is a problem is hard because it magically goes away. You know, I put mine out there every Friday and it's gone. So I think, I'm going to talk about a couple of the other things. We'll just continue with the conversation versus maybe coming with the list today. But I would like to look through our ordinances. They're very old. I found a record today. I took a picture on the way in. I finally found a residence that almost approached our limit of garbage cans. The limit is 10 per pickup day. I found one with 9. I yet to find one with 10. But our ordinance, it seems a little absurd to me that you are able to put out 10 garbage cans per pickup day. So if you own a business in the business district or the industrial, you're actually allowed to put out 20 garbage cans per week because there's 2 pickup days. That's a lot of garbage cans. And I would like to look into the ordinances and maybe go that route as well. Obviously, education, I think we have to continue to push that. Either we do or someone else does. Maureen brought up the closed loop fund. One of the stipulations for Waterbury getting their project was they had to have a CJ in place. CJ May was required in order to get their grant to move forward. They had to have an education person who's working on it. I don't know if it's full-time or part-time. But Pat used to do that type of thing in our city, and we really haven't done it in a very long time. We just haven't. I don't know if that can come back. I think it should. Go ahead, John.
What's that?
An education type of person to push recycling or monitor and do things. I mean, you see other cities where they have the garbage police. They'll go through, I read an article yesterday in Utah. They actually have, I think it was Salt Lake City, they have 6 people who go through and they look through the recycling carts before the garbage trucks and recycling trucks go out. And they mark, you know, this person's bad, you need to do this, and they'll put a little sticker. We don't have that now. I don't know if we'll ever have that.
Well, I wouldn't say never, but you're correct in that we don't have it's a sustainability position, right?
Absolutely.
It's somebody who concentrates on continuous improvement with waste and things like that.
Sure.
The city would really benefit from that. We don't have that position right now, but that doesn't just say that in the future we wouldn't, especially with $58 a ton, you know, we're gonna see the value added pretty quickly. So, we don't have it's not, you know, we haven't seen the budget yet, but, you know, maybe a recommendation also in the conclusion of this is recommending that a professional be in that position full-time to focus on solutions.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think that we don't have the people power currently to keep up on this type of thing. I think just me making the little flyer for Christmas, I think Brian Sear was thrilled that someone took that off his plate.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, he doesn't have the resources.
Right, and we have to understand, he's public works, he's not solid waste. I mean, I have the luxury of focusing on this. He does not have the luxury because he has to deal with Pequot Avenue and sidewalks and whatever else is happening. Marty, did you have a question? You're good, okay. What I'd like to do is ask our committee a question moving forward, and this kind of relates to pay-as-you-throw to a degree. I was wondering if garbage and recycling is a utility of sorts. And so I went to Merriam-Webster, and the utility is defined as a service such as light, power, or water provided by a public utility. I didn't find that satisfying, so I asked our law director, what is a utility. He admits his answer is not good either. But he states, as far as the law is concerned, there really isn't a hard and fast definition of a utility. That is because many times there are arguments and claims about what is or can be considered a utility and what cannot. As he says, the dictionary is a good starting spot, but certainly is not the end of the story in certain situations. Obviously, I didn't find that satisfying. He didn't really answer the question. So I went a step further, and I talked to Joe Lanzafame, who's the Director of Public Utilities. It seemed like another logical step. He says, I'm not aware of how a utility is technically defined. I can offer the following criteria I think is important. It utilizes a fee-based system, which is similar to what pay-as-you-throw did. The fee is calculated based on the customer's impact to the system. Dedicated enterprise fund, separate and independent of the general fund. And it has a credit program to reward customers who reduce their impact. These are the general principles I believe the utility should have. And so my question is, can garbage be a utility? Currently, we do, as I said, 10 garbage cans. Can we consider switching to you get one recycling can and one garbage can, and for each additional one, possibly there's a fee associated with each can?
Well, it's very similar to the pay-as-you-throw. I mean, that was kind of the concept of that. I would agree with Joe. Those are some pretty strong points, and I would agree with all those points. I mean, does it benefit? Does it come back and benefit the actual resident by saving? In this case, yeah. If we're looking at $58 a ton, and we're trying not to raise mill rates, then the person does benefit from that. And it depends on also when he's talking about how big, right? 2 garbage cans versus 10 garbage cans. So all those are very good points in what you're trying to accomplish here.
Go ahead, Mark.
We have an item in committee that,
Which committee?
Finance Committee of Council, not this committee. That a gentleman, Tom Clark, had forwarded to me, I think I forwarded to you
Yeah, I read it.
actually, that New York State is studying and analyzing this topic, but through utility, but an authority, where we capture, kind of like storm water,
Right.
and capture the folks that aren't paying taxes who get this service. So that may be an area too to be exploring. That
One other important thing is that you notice how Joe uses an example of a designated fund, meaning that the monies don't go back into the general fund. They're strictly dedicated to this, or to whatever the program is. And I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, I think Brian's here talking about how,
$400,000.
yeah, they do certain things, they don't get rewarded in a sense. And we can just kind of, I just made a little fly, actually I stole it from pay-as-you-throw, but you
You
can
got too
see
much
it.
that goes into the general fund.
Go
At
ahead.
least for
one thing-
overtime, it goes into the general fund.
that we're doing, and I think this is only within the last 10 years or so, is that on a week where there's a holiday,
Yes.
and we pick up garbage on Saturday, I think that's a relatively new phenomenon. It's expensive. If you don't get garbage pickup for a holiday, suck it up and wait a week and put it out the following week. In terms of savings. If I'm not mistaken, this was initiated when Keith Chapman was our Public Works Director, and the thought process was, we're gonna get the garbage picked up in hella high water, and this is what we're gonna do. And it's kind of become part of the culture, so to speak, but it's smart.
What I would wonder about what you just said, Mondays generally have a lot of holidays. Would it be an interesting thing to look into, to move it to shift to pick up on Tuesday to Saturday?
Yeah, but that would have to be negotiated.
I understand, yeah. But Mondays, we have a lot of, actually, when our committee was set up, we had to miss the first 2 months, I think, because there was a holiday and the senior center wasn't open. But if you shift when we pick up garbage, that might be a possible solution to kind of what you're saying, if there's overtime, but you negotiate it, obviously, from Tuesday to Sunday versus Monday through Friday, and then you have an extra Saturday pickup. I don't know if that has come up with the committee at all.
Not to my recollection.
Okay. Did anybody have any other feedback on looking into this as a utility, or if they have any feelings if it can be a utility, or they have no interest whatsoever?
I think it has merit, and there's merit of analyzing, and if we can, again, capture the non-taxable folks, I think that's a good thing.
Sure. I think it would be incentivize people to not create as much, because you have your can, it's 96 gallons. I think if we were recycling, I've got 3 kids and I haven't filled it up in probably a year. A lot of the stuff we get, I order a lot from Amazon, a lot of it's recyclable. I just don't have as much garbage as maybe I have in the past, so we have to change our habits, either through more recycling or bringing items to the transfer station, such as batteries or different things that in the past we throw in our garbage. Get them out. We can bring them to the transfer station, or once again, pay $58 a ton. In a sense, it's up to you. We'd have to look into, obviously, with a multifamily home, I think that house had with 9 garbage cans was not one family. If so, that's very impressive, but I don't think that was the case in there. So I have a couple other things, and our task is increase recycling, reduce solid waste, and get public support. And this is going to be a prickly one, but I'm going to just read it. So in our ordinances, section 1156B, it says all businesses and commercial establishments within the commercial or industrial zones shall receive 2 collections per week on Tuesdays and Fridays. I don't understand why we pick their garbage up twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. So Marty mentioned the Saturday pickup increases overtime or whatever else. I asked Brian Sear if we cut it back to 1 day, what that would do, and he essentially said it would cut back a tremendous amount of overtime. And I'm wondering what anybody else thinks about possibly looking into that aspect of our ordinances.
Yes.
I mean, it's a prickly
Yeah, I will look
political
into it.
landmine.
I think it's good.
Outside of the scope of,
Well,
I mean, I know it goes in with what our mission is to accomplish, but as far as our responsibility, as far as what we need to look into, when there's other individuals or the city admin or paid positions that should be looking into this, not us.
do you have any feedback as counselors?
I do, what did I just hear? I'm sorry, what did, John, is it John?
Yes.
John, what were you trying to say? That
I'm
there's...
saying that we're starting to get her out of the scope of what we were organized for, and to ask us to start looking into price of stuff, or whether we should be concerned about ordinances when there's departments, directors, or individuals that are employed by the city, that's what they're getting paid to do. You can only ask volunteers to do so much.
Well, you're making a recommendation, you're not making an executive decision, so that's the difference. I absolutely believe it's within your scope, because you're supposed to be looking at all angles. In regards to the overtime, yeah, if you're saying that 1 time a week versus 2 times a week, let's at least take a look at that and analyze what, how that would benefit. Because what are we looking at? We're looking at how are we going to continue to pay $58 a ton? That's really and so yeah, that's a valid point, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Marty.
I'm listening right now.
Okay.
Is it also prickly to be suggesting that they change the routes and make them more efficient, or
I don't believe so.
decide to do certain areas of town?
Sure. I live on Ocean Avenue, and my pickup is on Fridays. I don't think many would disagree that Ocean Beach is one of our most popular attractions in our city. We send our guests in the summer, spring, fall through garbage on the way to Ocean Beach. It makes no sense to me. If there's a holiday on a Monday, there's more traffic on Saturday, and we continue to send our guests through our garbage. And then if you take our streets, there's traffic, and it's going to take our crews longer to pick up garbage. If we analyze the routes and we switched, say, mine from Friday to Monday, how much time would it save, and how much better of an experience would that be for our guests? I would prefer they remember the beach versus the garbage sitting in front of my house. It makes, to me, that makes perfect sense. The problem is, and I've heard it a lot when I ask people, and I've asked people about this, is it's hard. I don't really care. Or we've always done it this way. Well, you know what?
I think it's-
Maybe we need to not do something that way and do a cultural shift. And yeah, it takes a little time to get used to, but if you move from city to city, I'm sure you can figure out what day your garbage is. I don't think it would be that much different in New London to do a similar type of thing. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, maybe if you change the day, change the Ocean Beach to a different day of the week, you're worried about them going past our garbage, but they're sure as hell not worried about when they come and spend July 4th and throw everything from dirty diapers or whatever on Ocean Avenue and the surrounding areas. So, I mean, I wouldn't worry about the outside public looking at our trash cans.
But we have to, because I think we're trying to build a tourist attraction for New London, and to continue to send our guests through garbage, to me, makes no sense. And that's part of gaining public support.
It's not the venue for it.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Maureen, you have a question?
I think including those kind of points, I think that's worthy of adding to our review. And if, at least so they've been recorded.
Okay.
I agree, and I just want to mention, we have antiquated ordinances.
We do.
That's a fact.
Oh, come
I
on.
mean, we've been busy with updating these, and I keep, telling the department heads, keep them coming, right? I mean, this is what we need to do. So if you have an ordinance that you're looking at right now that you say this doesn't make sense, and absolutely you should include that. And we could even go a step further and, propose a revision to an existing ordinance. It's not that hard to do.
You're saying 1981 is outdated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was, with the situation that we're short 2 people right now in the southwest area because they're out on disability or workers' comp and they're not returning. Is the city willing to offer the CDL training again for the ones that are there so that they can at least help out with the trucking and, with the...
I don't know, have you talked about that with Brian for Public Works, or is that not something that's come up?
I believe that that's been done in recent years, but I don't think it's an ongoing situation. And it's not just for solid waste, I mean, there's other large
Yeah.
trucks that
Sure.
for
Well,
different
exactly.
aspects of public works.
So that's what if they can cross-train,
So you're saying try to add more flexibility to what people can and can't do
Exactly, cross-training,
versus being on the back of the truck and you pick up garbage, and maybe you could hop in the truck and switch out with someone every now and
exactly.
then.
What, people that are on vacation or they're out sick or whatever, at least you'll be able to, you're not gonna be, just because a person is out, the trucks are not gonna, one truck is not gonna be able to go out because that person is out, because you don't know how to drive this, you don't have the license.
Sure. So you want more flexibility within the department somehow? I don't know.
Like cross-training, that's just,
I proposed that to Quincy when he was here, and they did offer that. And maybe the people we have now on solid waste will be more open to it, but right now, the ones they have were not willing to weren't willing to do the cross-training. They didn't want the CDL responsibility. I asked them that about, because there was an incident where Tim went on vacation, single individual recycling truck. Nobody can drive his truck, so now they send a regular 3-person truck out to pick out recycling.
Can we make it mandatory?
I know.
I know it's.
I'm not fighting, I'm just
No,
telling you
oh,
what.
no, no, I'm sorry.
But I don't think that
You'll
will
get
come,
a different job if you don't want to.
I don't think that will come from this committee for a recommendation to make it mandatory.
No, I understand, I know, of course not, but I'm just saying, you know, that would be,
Sure, no, I understand. Did you have more, you have the list there, so,
no, I'm just running out
Taking
stuff
notes.
taking stuff down.
okay. That was kind of the end of my thoughts and lists on maybe where to go and what to look at, what to investigate, all that type of thing. Next, I don't know if anybody else has any other feedback, and then I'd like to take some questions from our audience.
I have one more.
ahead.
On the restaurant, has anyone talked to the restaurant owners about wanting to participate in the compost for the pig farm?
So I don't think anybody's talked to them directly. I asked Kip, he seemed like the most logical person because he's from Central City. He hasn't really said yes yet. I don't want to single out Bob, but I believe you get stuff from Right Path.
Right Path, Two Wives, Fiddleheads, the Community Meal Center. Yes, I do.
So I don't know if other restaurants have been approached. What I did find out, I thought it was kind of interesting. The only thing pigs won't eat are hot dogs.
I wonder why.
Just saying.
And citrus.
And citrus, okay. But they will eat all kinds of chicken bones, all kinds of stuff. Because I took the time to go with Jonathan to all of our schools and then up to Conn College, and you can ask lots of fun questions while you're riding around picking up kind of disgusting parts of stuff. And I'll share the pictures if you want them. But it has worked really well in our schools, and the program actually came from the School Building and Maintenance Committee. I believe John Sadie kind of put it forward. And it started in September of 2017. In our first year, we diverted 86.7 tons of food waste just from the schools that produce food. Two of the 7 do not produce food at all. The way it works now is it's only the food that the kitchen creates. One school is experimenting with trying to scrape some food off plates. The requirement is that like recycling, our food comes clean, not contaminated. We've had 0 contamination. Not exactly 0, as the pig farmer said, sometimes I pull out something, but it's not something he's gonna quibble about. So even at the schools, we can push it a little more, but I don't believe any of the other restaurants have been approached. I would really like Kip to do that. I think he's the logical person from our committee to do that. I'm just waiting for an answer on that type of thing. Martin?
Just quickly, I mean, a month ago, Brian represented this group at the City Center District monthly meeting. Unfortunately, there was a lot of rather big agenda, and he kind of got pushed
I got a minute and a half
at the back of the meeting. But I would suggest if revisit the City Center District and kind of like be the agenda item and not the sidebar, so to speak. And
Sure.
some of these questions should be addressed, I think, there. And let them put it out to their membership,
Sure.
whether it's the restaurants, whether it's the reducing collection to one day a week. I mean, that needs to be introduced, just, I think, to do it, otherwise would be kind of, have their back up, and it would fail miserably. We've been through that recently with another program.
I think getting feedback before moving forward would be the best situation versus, bam, here it is. And I would agree with you. If I can get on the agenda, or you were there too, if you wanted to get on the agenda with me to talk about different things, I think it would be a very
What's this now?
progressive thought process.
What's this meeting now?
Center City District.
City Center District, Kip Boshin's a member of this committee who is a member of that. It's a special tax district downtown.
I think they meet once a month, I think. I'm not sure when they're next.
It's an early morning meeting.
Yeah, you get free coffee though.
Oh, it's during the week?
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, Jackie, they're not gonna move it for you.
No, listen, I will take the time. I mean, this is important to me.
Good.
I will take the time off.
So I want to take a couple of questions from out here. I know Marty has to get going in a little bit, but Cheryl, you had a question? No? You had a question?
Yeah, I have a few questions. Well, the question was, does your solid waste, does that go to the dump and they reburn it, or no?
It doesn't go to the dump, it actually goes to our transfer station in New London, and then
Okay.
we transfer it up to Preston, where it's incinerated.
Okay, so then because you're creating power for them, they still charge us for that, or are you talking about
They
we're
do.
doing you a favor, you can't, I'm giving you stuff, so that creates electricity, right?
Yep.
And then it creates power, then they get paid for it.
Sure. We get $58 a ton, and if you take the perspective of the whole country, Willimantic pays $85 a ton.
Yes.
Long Island is over $100, New York, I believe, is $200 to $300
Okay,
a
and
ton.
we're only the average of, what is it, 7 miles one way and 2 miles another way? We're not that big of a community, right?
We're 5.5 square miles,
5.5 square.
but I'm not
miles.
sure that has any relevance to how much we pay for tipping fees.
Okay, no, okay, and another thing is, I'm wondering if you did like a point system, like, let's say more people are recycling, even these, like, hey, you'll get points on your taxes. And then the landlord would find out about this and say, gee, I really like that, keep up the good, the more then I don't have to jack up your rent next year because because I got a few points, good points for my taxes not going up. Because I always hear New London, your taxes are going up, it's really high, it's really high. Taxes are going up, taxes are going up. You never really give anybody a break, but I'm thinking maybe if you gave them a break, like, hey, let's recycle. That's just an idea.
There's some different types of incentive programs out there.
Yes. Okay.
That I've looked into, I haven't brought them here, but there's some
Yeah.
different ideas.
So that was an idea of mine.
Sure. Karen, I know you wanted to say something?
Okay.
Okay.
A couple of things. Let's see. First of all, not discussed at all, but I just am curious as to how the closing of that, what is it? The Maxon plant up in East Hart, is it Maxon? Up in East Hartford that's been closed for 2 or 3 months?
I can only.
And how is it going to, or will it affect us eventually?
I don't think it will affect us directly, but I can look into it for you. I
I'm
don't have
just curious.
I don't have a good answer.
Because there's been a lot on the news about it
All of
lately.
our garbage goes to Preston, unless they're going to be shipping, because something's goes to our plant. But I believe our plant is pretty full.
Yeah.
I know as of this week, there was a 3-hour delay to get into our plant to drop off garbage. And that's just from our district.
Yeah.
So I don't anticipate they're going to say, hey, bring it all down here.
Yeah.
We also want to preserve the lifespan of our facility as long
Well,
as.
that's why I would just,
Yeah, I can ask, I don't have a great answer for you.
Oh,
My-
Karen's got it.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
my other, couple other things real quick. You were talking about the mailings to the landlords, but when you're in multi-family homes, sometimes the landlords, yeah, they might be getting the mailing for the water bill, but they're in Florida, and it's the tenants that you have to get the
Sure.
literature to.
The state actually has a flyer they put out for multifamily homes.
Yeah.
That is catered towards that type of thing. It's a matter of getting it to
Right,
them.
so just, you know.
And I talked to Felix Reyes, and he had talked about kind of a guidebook for renters about what to do and what not to do. And I'm not sure where he is in that process. But I think one thing we're not so good in New London is doing like a welcoming book type of thing either. I mean, a lot of us have said, or in our community have said, I didn't even know we had a transfer station. Well, we need to do a better job of that as
And
well.
lastly, not to cut you off.
Okay.
When the pay-as-you-throw thing first came up, and I was doing a lot of research,
Yep.
and there are several communities in the area, well, in Connecticut, that do have a fee-based program on amount of solid waste and recycling. And a whole variety of the way they handle it, but it is out there, and everybody has to pay whatever, you know.
The kind of interesting thing about garbage and recycling is no community seems to do it the same.
No.
I mean, even within our district in Skura, I mean, you can go to Montville and it's a completely different program than it is here. There are maybe some similarities, like we use Skura, but past that, it's a whole different world even in our area. So did anybody else back there have questions? But
A couple of things. One thing that came up at the Neighborhood Alliance meeting is that I believe, and several people, Dennis brought it up, is that single stream is the problem. And I'm glad that Alma's here because I think that we need a regional approach to several things. There's been an RFP from the state for Creative Reuse Recycling Center for years, and nobody has been able to fulfill that. And I think that now would be a good time to reconsider that, and maybe if we can do a good job of getting clean material out there, making that available to artists, raising the deposit on the bottle to 10 cents and including all the nits and the little things. Possibly having neighborhood recycling, especially in the areas where the trucks can't get down the streets in good weather, never mind in bad weather. Having 9 categories, at least 9 categories of recycled material. Now, there's 32 plastic manufacturers in eastern Connecticut that can't get clean recycled material. Thank you.
So, but I'm going to interrupt you. I want to address one part. All of our streets, it may be difficult, we can get down them. And every one of our streets can accept 96-gallon recycling carts and garbage. So we do actually have the ability, it's just a little challenging on some of our smaller side streets that dwindle when it snows. But we do have the ability to get down all those streets, and we do also have the ability to, we have the space to put a recycling cart next to a garbage cart of the same size on every pickup in New London.
But I also see this as an opportunity. I know there's a resentment against the homeless people and the idea that, they're sitting around all day drinking and drugging and not doing anything. Well, let's put them to work in recycling and helping to keep the streets clean.
Sure. So I want to bring it back to here because we're kind of at a 10-minute allotment. We're on to, are there any committee member comments?
So we agreed that we were going to meet again March, I'm sorry.
Not that far.
February 11th, we're still in
We're going to meet every
January.
6 months.
And that's still good for everybody, I'm assuming. And the objective is DEP?
Yes,
We're going to have it at the next meeting, okay?
Do we want to meet on January 28th, or do we want to put it off until February 11th?
I will be out of town personally.
Okay. You?
February 11th is good.
So, okay, I will work on getting the DEP here. I also agree Skype or some other form of it is not ideal. I think if it was a regular committee member and maybe it happened once or twice, that would be fine, but not, I understand, but not so much to have a conversation. I don't think it would work, and I would prefer we converse and ask them questions versus they present and then they go away.
Right.
I think we get more of a benefit out of that. So with that said, I guess I'll look for a motion to adjourn.